I have prepared the ultimate preseason cheat sheet. Minutes, formations, and best players are a few of the things that we're going to discuss today, so sit back and enjoy the video. We're starting off with Arsenal. As you can see, I'm using the Fantasy Football Scout timetable, where all of the preseason games are written, and you can see the minutes and goals and assists that everyone scored and provided. We are going to discuss the top players here because there is no need to discuss players like Cedric Suarez or Reece Nelson, who are obviously not going to start. At the top, Gabriel Magalhaes, Benjamin White, Ramsdale, Saliba, Nketiah, and Saka. They're the core of their side. I believe when David Raya joins Arsenal, Ramsdale will drop his place because Raya is, in my opinion, a better goalkeeper. But overall, the other players are going to be starting, especially the guys in defense. Gabriel, Benjamin White, and Saliba seems nailed. They're well over 60% of the time played. Saka is the most used forward, which is an obvious thing. Odegaard, Martinelli, Trossard were used regularly as well. Gabriel Jesus was bound to start but is now injured, so we're going to prepare our drafts without him. In preseason, the best scoring machine for Arsenal was Trossard, and he was only around the 50% of the time on the field, and he scored 4 goals. He didn't provide any assists, but he scored the equalizer against Manchester City in the Community Shield, which is a friendly, not so friendly game. Basically, it was a lucky goal, but it was a goal anyways. Other than that, Saka and Havertz has scored as well. Saka has provided a lot of assists, so initially he is staying in the draft. And in the next slide, I'm going to show to you how they started the game Arsenal against the City, and we're going to discuss who their best players are. Again, City Arsenal set up in the 4-3-3 formation with Timber in the place of Zinchenko and joining up the midfield, Gabriel and Saliba as their center backs, and Benjamin White in his regular position from last season. In midfield, it was Declan Rice instead of Xhaka from last season, and Thomas Partey as a holding DM. Odegaard was a little bit advanced, and up front, Saka, Martinelli, and Havertz made up the front line. Havertz was dropping to receive the ball and to provide passes as I was expecting. Declan Rice and Partey was not a very good partnership in midfield, so I believe that Partey is going to be dropped. I believe that was the strategy against Arsenal, and a player of the ranks of Nketiah or Trossard will join up the starting 11, but against the better oppositions, that was the lineup, and it will be the lineup, in my opinion, when Jesus returns. He will replace Havertz, but they will go with 2 solid midfielders like Partey and Rice, and Odegaard, who is their captain. In this game, I was not very impressed by Arsenal as a whole. Havertz missed several chances, and I believe that he is not a clinical striker, and that's a regular thing for him. Saka was lively, Martinelli as well, but Trossard brought up the spark that equalized the game, and after that they won the game against City, as you already know. In defense, Gabriel, as you can see, was booked, and then he was replaced when they were looking for an equalizer, so I believe that that can repeat in the season, so I'm opting for Saliba for my Arsenal defender. Benjamin White is a little bit of risk because when Zinchenko returns, Timber maybe rotated with Benjamin White. We have to see, but for me, Saliba is the most nailed one. Rice and Martinelli were replaced as well. Trossard brought in, and I believe that he's going to be playing a very, very big role in Arsenal's team. In my opinion, the best players from Arsenal are Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard, and Saliba. It's up to you to choose. Trossard is a dark horse. I believe that he can do damage as well, especially in the first couple of game weeks when Jesus is out. Gabriel is a good defender. I'm basically tossing a coin between Saliba and him, but I believe Saliba is better. Last season they had pretty similar points around the 10th game week, so it's basically a 50-50. I don't get that set piece threat from Gabriel. Last season he didn't score against the weaker oppositions from set pieces. Basically, they're going to score in an odd game here and there, and I believe Saliba is just more solid, and as you can see, he had the better rating provided by SofaScore. I'm using their lineups to showcase them to you. And yeah, I believe Saliba once again, Saka and Martinelli are the best choices and the best price value. Trossard is a dark horse, and I'm considering him as well. And Odegaard is another player, but I believe there are better options at that price point. Next up, we are going to discuss a team that is going to compete in a European tournament this year. It's Aston Villa. Aston Villa were playing really good last season when Unai Emery took charge, and I believe they will continue doing so. So I have my eyes set on several of their players. As you can see, Douglas Lewis, Match Cash, and Ollie Watkins made the top of the ranks of players that played in preseason, while new signings Tielemans, Diaby and Pau Torres impressed me a lot. I believe Diaby will be a very good addition to the Aston Villa side and will be far better than what Bailey was last season, and I believe he can make Bailey even a better option at FPL. Ollie Watkins, 4 goals, he missed a penalty, so that was supposed to be 5 goals. I believe he has issues with penalties because he seems to miss a lot, but scoring opportunities are always present for him, and with his speed and clinical record, I believe Ollie Watkins will be a good addition. Match Cash played as a right wing back in one of the games, and he scored a goal. He provided assist as well. Luka Dean was rotated, and basically it was either Luka Dean or Match Cash playing on the field. Otherwise, Ramsey is injured for the start of the season, and they have a pretty interesting formation, so let's go and take a look at it. As you can see, they opted for a 4-3-3 as well. In defense, they used 3 center backs, and one of them was playing as a left back. I believe it was Pau Torres, not Tyrone Mings. It was just confused here at SofaScore. Match Cash was on the right side, so Luka Dean was out of the team. In front, they had Ollie Watkins, Moussa Diaby, and Leon Bailey. I believe that will be their starting attacking players. I believe they can integrate in a 3-5-2 formation as well, where McGinn joins the left wing back position and they play the 3 center backs at the middle. Then Douglas Lewis, Kamara and Liam Bailey are basically their midfield, and Ollie Watkins and Moussa Diaby will be their strikers. Ollie Watkins and Moussa Diaby for me are one of the better players, and they're on the good side of the FPL price points. Moussa Diaby, especially at 6.5, I believe he's going to be a hidden gem this season. Ollie Watkins is right now the only injury-free good striker, and that's not rumored to leave apart from Haaland. Ivan Toney and Nkunku, Darwin is a substitute minutes risk, Jesus is injured, so a lot of players are out, and Ollie Watkins is there to provide pretty good price point at your attacking side if you're not going for a Salah draft. Otherwise, Match Cash is a good option. Pau Torres, maybe, and Tyrone Mings. Emiliano Martinez at goal, I forgot to mention him. I believe that he is a very good shot stopper. He is having pretty spectacular games, and when their fixture turn for the better, I can opt for Emiliano Martinez or Match Cash, but for now, I'm staying away from their defense, and for me, their best players right now are Ollie Watkins and Moussa Diaby, and if you can find a place for at least one of them, it will be a very beneficial thing for you, even though they have a pretty rough patch of fixtures at the start. They have 2 pretty favorable fixtures at game week 2 and 3, but other than that, it's pretty shaky, so it's up to you to choose, but Ollie Watkins and Moussa Diaby for me are the better ones, and if you want an attacking 4.5 wingback, Match Cash is your guy. Next up is Bournemouth. I'm going to be perfectly honest, I'm not very familiar with Bournemouth's side because they just had a pretty okayish preseason, but I'm not very excited with their fixtures, so I haven't taken a look at their formation deep, but we'll check them regardless. Lewis Cook, Anthony, Zabarani, Christian, Autara Minfam, all of those guys played over 50% of the time. Most of the teams is looking pretty solid and pretty nailed. Neto in goal is a very good shout out to go for a goalkeeper from a 4.5 perspective. Yeah, Bournemouth do not have the best fixture on, but under a new manager they can surprise a lot of FPL managers that are not prepared to adapt very quickly to the changes. Justin Kluivert is their highlight of the summer signings, and he played around the 50% of the time. Dominic Solanke is their main man, and I believe that he's going to have a pretty good season once again. He didn't have a very good preseason. He missed their last game. I'm not sure if it's an injury or not, but at 6.5, I believe that there are better options at 6.0. Philip Billing is one of the guys at 5.5 that has taken my mind once again. I used him last season for a couple of game weeks. He was not very good, but he had a pretty good spells of scoring opportunities and scoring chances. And under new managership, I can adapt a 5.5 midfielder in my side pretty easily, and I can find a place for even more expensive guys elsewhere. So 5.5 midfielder is a pretty good option. But now let's go and see how they set up for the first game and discuss where you can most probably attack their lineup and to put them in your side if you want to own a Bournemouth player. Another side and another 4-3-3. In goal, Neto, as I mentioned, he's a pretty solid guy. Their defensive pairship played the whole game, so that's a pretty good sign that they are going to play as a starting pairship for the season. Their wing backs, I don't think they are very attacking, but we have to monitor them more strictly under the season when we have more data and more relevant information. Philip Billing here replaced Dominic Solanke as their striker, and Kluivert was not in the side as a starter, and I believe that this may be a worry, but Philip Billing, if Solanke is injured, looks like he's going to be out of position striker, so that's a pretty good thing to consider as well. 5.5 for out of position striker, even though it's for Bournemouth, is a good option. Here, if I have to focus 2 or 3 guys, I'll focus Philip Billing for sure, Neto, and maybe Otaro on the right wing, but other than that, I'm not pretty well knowledged with their players, and I don't believe that they're going to be bargains, at least for the start of the season, because as I already mentioned, their fixture run is not looking all right, and you can invest elsewhere even for cheaper prices. So yeah, avoid Bournemouth for the start, but if you must own a player, Neto and Billing, for my opinion, are the 2 best players from their side. Next up is Brentford. Last year they survived the second year curse, so I believe they are going to be a regular Premier League team now and for future seasons. In preseason, Tony was missing, of course, because he's banned to play or to train up until the start of next year. Lewis Potter was a pretty good addition to their side. He played the most minutes of their whole team. He's a midfielder, but he's playing as a winger slash forward, so he's ones to watch for sure. Pinnock at the center back position role, so Afianet, Wissa, Ben Mee. Here, the best guy for me is Brian Mbumo, but he got injured at their last game. He's taking penalties. He's their talisman when Tony is missing, so he will be playing most probably 90 minutes. He's classified as a midfielder. Other good addition to the sides is Wissa, but he is not as good as other cheaper players in my opinion as well, and I'm just staying away for now from him, but I can easily adapt him to my side because I will have the money and the budget to do so. Ben Mee this season is 5.0 and I'm staying away from him, but Mark Flecken is one of the better goalkeepers that are going to be this year at 4.5. Raya is rumored to be joining Arsenal, so Flecken is going to have no competition in goal. So for 4.5, a Brentford goalkeeper, if they keep their good clean sheet record, is going to be good once again. Other than that, Shade scored a couple of goals. He is a 5.5 midfielder, so yeah, we can use him at some point and rotate him with Billing, but we have to see how and when they set up with Mbumo, with Wissa, who's going to set up next to them. Is it going to be Lewis Potter or is it going to be Shade? We have to see, but for now we're staying most probably away from several of their players, but Rico Henry, I forgot to mention him, and Mbumo and Wissa are the top guys, and Flecken. So they have 4 top guys. Let's see their formation and discuss the top guys way easier. Another team, another 4-3-3. I believe that SofaScore is just putting 4-3-3 as most of the team's formation, but we are going to discuss it. At goal, Mark Flecken, he wasn't substituting. They played 2 games against the opposition at the end of the preseason, but I believe that is going to be their starting lineup. Mark Flecken is in goal. I don't see him being substituted a lot, and Raya is not in the side, so he's going to be a starter. Henry was precautiously left out of the team, but I believe that he's going to replace Hickey as their left back, and for a 4.5 left back, he's going to be doing pretty well. Ben Mee and Pinnock, good choices, but not for my liking. Up front, Lewis Potter, Mbuemo and Wissa, as I already mentioned. In my opinion, Mbuemo will be good for the start, and he is going to partnership Wissa. Against some of the harder oppositions, they may adapt the 3-5-2 formation when Mbum is going to be playing just behind Wissa. We have to see, but for now, on the right side of the attack with penalties, he's a very good option. Lewis Potter as well, a very good option. Wissa, an okayish option. So here you have several guys: Flecken, Henry, Mbumo, Wissa, Lewis Potter, Shade maybe if he starts playing. We have to see, maybe another midfielder will emerge as a good option. But Brentford are going to be a good side, and they have a pretty favorable fixture run at the start, so you may as well invest in them. If Henry is alright, I believe he's the best option. If he's not, you can go for Flecken as well, but it's up to you. I am not owning a 4.5 defender at the moment in my side, but this may well change before the start of the season because I may want to save a 4.5, but we have to see. Right now, let's continue with another side, and it's a newly promoted side. I was quick to think that it was Burnley's time, it's Brighton's time, sorry. But it's even better. I like Brighton's fixture and players more than Burnley, so let's focus on Brighton right now. Pascal Gross was the top player in their team minutes-wise. He played in every game. In the last game, he played 90 minutes. He is bound to be their right back at the start of the season. He is replacing Veltman, who had a lot of preseason time as well, but Veltman is not going to start at right back. Mitoma, The Hood, Pedro, Gilmore, Welbeck, a lot of players played a lot of minutes. Stewart and Verbrugge shared their minutes. Sorry, I butchered that name, but yeah, I butchered it for sure. Next players that are going to discuss in Sisu, March, and Dunk didn't play a lot of minutes in preseason. Evan Ferguson as well didn't play a lot. Moise Caicedo is bound to leave, so a lot of players to discuss. Let's go to their formation and we will look a lot more in their players in depth. The goals were scored by Pedro, Welbeck, and Adjingara. I butchered that name against for sure, but Welbeck and Pedro's goals are interesting to see. And we have to show that Mitoma has only assists. They didn't score a lot of goals in their preseason, but they played pretty good opposition. So let's go and see the team, and we will focus on their players more. They started in a 4-2-3-1 formation finally. Pascal Gross, Lewis Dunk, Adam Webster, and Pervis Stupinian made the defensive line and still was in goal, but still made an error which led to their goal that they conceded. So I believe there is going to be a rotation in their goalkeeper's position, so I'm not completely sure that Steele is going to be nailed. He started the game, but they shared the minutes. In defense, Gross played the whole game. He was the only player that stayed in the field for the whole game. Estupinian on the left side, pretty attacking. I like him a lot. Webster and Dunk, solid as ever. In midfield is a new partnership after McAllister left and Caicedo is bound to leave. Gilmore and The Hood makes the starting pivot. March, Pedro and Mitoma. Pedro a new player and Welbeck up front. I see that the partnership between Pedro and Welbeck is looking tasty, so I am going to invest in Brighton for sure. Mitoma and March ever present once again. Kudus is rumored to be joining the side from Ajax, so a lot of rotations are going to happen. And Sisu even didn't get a lot of minutes. I believe that he was going to play even more, but in my opinion, he was not a very good and solid player in preseason. Here, Estupinian, Pedro, March, and Pintuma are the players that I enjoy a lot and to own a lot. March didn't have a very good preseason. He was a little bit injured, so I'm just sucking off. But between Pedro, Mitoma, and Estupinian, you can even go for the three of them and you're not going to be mistaken. I'm right now owning Pedro and Estupinian in my site. I will prepare a draft video tomorrow, so you're going to see it. But Pedro and Estupinian are in it. Pedro scored a penalty, as you can see, while Gross was on the field, so I believe when Pedro is on the field, he's going to take at least some of the penalties. Welbeck was off, but I don't see Welbeck being in front of Gross, and Gross was on the field, so Pedro is going to take the penalties in my opinion. He is a striker, he is cheap, he is a good option, he is going to be playing most of the time. He was one of the last guys to be substituted off, so I believe Pedro and Estupinian and Mitoma are the three guys that are going to be having a pretty solid season, and I believe that they are going to return a lot of points, especially at the start. And even if you keep them as a bench options or something like that, 5.5 for a bench option, a striker is a very good price point to own. So yeah, Pedro, pretty good ownership. He's rising and his appeal will improve even more. We are now getting into Burnley. They are the champions from the championship, and Vincent Kompany is cooking something special there, but he's not there yet. He played only 4 games that were recorded here, but they played a lot of games behind closed door where there isn't much information. Roberts, Twine, Zauri, Taylor, Audahi, Bear all played pretty good minutes. Bear is a pretty good option being 4.0 defender. Charlie Taylor as well is a pretty good option, but I'm looking at the game against Mainz at the end. So 90 minutes for Roberts and 75 minutes for Twine. Those were the guys that, for my opinion, are going to be pretty nailed. After game weeks 2, when they have a blank, you can invest in Twine, who is a 5.0 midfielder, and I believe he is going to score several goals and he's going to provide assists. As you can see, he provided assists already, scored only 3 goals in those games, and I'm staying away from their defenders because they lost heavily against Mainz. They have a new goalkeeper, Trafford. He came from Manchester City after winning the Euro Under-1 championship, and he's going to be a pretty good goalkeeper. If he was classified as a Manchester City player, he was going to be 4.0, but now he's 4.5 because he was added into the game after he joined Burnley, so we didn't get a 4.0 goalkeeper there. But I believe Burnley will improve steadily after a couple of game weeks, and they will get some pretty good players to introduce in your side. As always, the newly promoted side does that, and last year Mitrovic was a very good example, Andreas Pereira, so it will be cheap to invest in their players. But now let's go and see how they're lining up, and we'll get to which players got my eye in their preseason. It's another 4-3-3 formation. I believe that they're just making some joke here, but let's discuss it. In defense, Bayer and Roberts for me are 2 of the most interesting players there because they're wingbacks slash fullbacks, so they're going to be playing as attackingly as possible as a Burnley wingback, so they're good options, especially Bayer, who is 4.0, Trafford in goal. In midfield, Brownhill, he is a already established pair, so he's going to have good returns. Nathan Raymond is here and Gudmundsson in midfield. Up front, Zaurauri is a pretty good option, so from here I will get Bear and Zaurauri as good options. Otherwise, I'm not going to invest elsewhere in their side. We are now getting into another interesting team, is Chelsea. Chelsea, I believe, under Pochettino will be a very good team this season. They will not have anything similar to last season. Some of their players are pretty interestingly price-wise. Nkunku, we got the news yesterday that he's out now for around 4 months, so that's a big blow for them. But other than that, Nicholas Jackson is providing a very good attacking option. Gallagher is scoring some goals. He played in almost any of their games. Yeah, he played basically in any of their games. And in the last game played 90 minutes. Kepa is right now their starting goalkeeper, but they purchased Rob Sanchez. They're looking to sign Caicedo. Enzo Fernandez is playing better. Benchio is a very good option, even though he's sharing some time with Cucurella, but I believe that he's going to be nailed. On the other side, Reece James is a good option. Lewis Cowell in defense looks a pretty solid option. Gusto at 4.0, if Reece James gets injured, is going to be priceless. So yeah, a lot of good players. Now let's see the formation and discuss in who you should invest. They are now setting up in a 4-2-3-1 formation, basically with a shadow striker, a Dele Alli role that was pretty popular under Pochettino in Spurs. In defense, James, Silva, Cowell and Chilwell. I believe Chilwell is their best option in defense attacking wise, and Cowell is very good defensive and price wise. Kepa may be rotated, so stay away for now from the Chelsea goalkeeper. In midfield right now is Gallagher and Enzo Fernandez, but I believe they are looking to sign Moises Caicedo or at least another holding GM to replace him, so it's going to be a good option to consider maybe Gallagher after he joins the attacking parts of the team, but for now stay away from him. Sterling Chukwumueka, sorry if I butchered that name, and Nkunku were their attacking midfielders basically, but now it's going to be Mudryk with the Nkunku injury, and up front is right now Jackson. Vlahovic is rumored to be joining the Chelsea side, but for now Jackson is their only good option in attack. Broya is there, but I believe he's not a great danger for Jackson. With Nkunku's injury, they are players' availability becomes and likability becomes a little bit less. But Jackson, Chilwell, Rhys James, Cowell, Sterling provide pretty good option. Mudryk is a hidden gem that may emerge this season with such a low price. So yeah, include some of their players in your side, even though they play Liverpool in game week 1. I believe that they are going to score a goal because Liverpool are now leaky in defense. And at least one player is good to have because after that their fixtures turn for the better. And Ben Chilwell especially, who is in my side and haven't left since, is going to be a pretty good option. And when they become better defensively and sign a GM that establishes himself in the side, Cowell will become a good option also. Next up is Crystal Palace. Under Roy Hodgson, I believe they are going to be a pretty solid Prem team, around 10th place. I predict that they are going to finish. Their big star Zaha left, but another one emerges. It's Eberechi Eze. For me, he is one of the better players in preseason and in the Prem as a whole. He is going to be a very good international footballer soon. Nathaniel Quine is keeping his place at the right back or left back position. Edward is their starting striker, and at such a low price, he is a good option as well when their fixtures turn for the better. If Mateta is not joining the side when they need him, Edward is going to be a nail striker, and I believe Roy Hodgson enjoys playing like that. Mitchell, Gay, all of them pretty good option. I believe Mitchell is having an injury right now, so he's out of the side and missed the last couple of preseason games. Doucouré is a good option. Sam Johnston is a good option. In player lies, Olise is going to be a good option when he returns and if he doesn't leave Crystal Palace. But let's see the formation and their players, and we're going to focus more. Have in mind that Mateta scored 3 goals, but Edward scored 3 as well. But Eze, in my opinion, was their best player in preseason. They are right now starting in a 4-2-3-1 formation. They signed a new Brazilian player that is going to boost their attacking ranks for sure. In defense, I like the likes of Gay and Johnston. Johnston is a pretty solid goalkeeper, but if something happens, he may be rotated. I don't believe so because Roy Hodgson believes in him very much, but I am just staying away a little bit from him. Maybe later I will introduce him in my side, but we'll have to see. Elsewhere, Edward, a pretty good option at such a low price in fantasy, and Eze, for me, he is the best player. I'm even considering him for my Game Week 1 squad. You should as well, but for now, I'm just considering him. I need to see a little bit more of them attacking-wise, because last season at the end they were okayish, but they had Zaha who was injured, but yeah, at least had them in the ranks. Olise was there as well, but for now, Eze is their best player. We have to see the new Brazilian how is going to set up in their side. So for now they are wait and see, but Sam Johnston and Eze are pretty interesting options for sure. Sean Dyche, Everton, what a good side to consider defensively. Iwobi, Patterson, Tarkowski, Maupai, Godfrey, Gay all got pretty good minutes. Pickford got pretty good minutes as well when he was playing. He had a pretty good run of 90 minutes fixtures, but in my opinion, their attack is something that I should and you should avoid, at least for the start. Sean Dyche's sides are not very famous for attacking players, but their defensive players are a little bit of gems. Tarkowski, Patterson, and Pickford especially are going to be so popular in my opinion when other players realize that Everton are going to be solid defensively. Tarkowski got a little bit of an injury at the last game, but I believe that he's going to be fine. Patterson, a very good option, at least until Coman returns from injury. And Pickford, my favorite player from their side fantasy-wise, because I don't like Everton. As you most probably know, I'm a Liverpool fan. But Everton, I believe under the new managership of Sean Dyche and the preseason are going to be very well defensively. Let's see the formation and discuss the players a little bit more. They were set in a pretty defensive formation, 4-5-1. They just enjoy having a lot of players in midfield. Such big guys like Onana, Gay, and Doucouré are going to be so hard to penetrate when the game starts, and big guys like Tarkowski and Godfrey as well. I believe Ashley Young is going to be having pretty good minutes as well, and he may even play out of position from time to time, but for now he's a no option for me. Calvert-Lewin went off at the 45th minute, but before that he scored a penalty and they kept a clean sheet against Sporting, and it was a 1-0 victory. Pickford, good goalkeeper. Against better oppositions they will face more shots, but I believe those shots will be out of the box and Pickford will save them. Patterson, a very good option, not good enough attacking wise, but a solid defensive option if Tarkovsky is out, but with so many big players, I believe that they will be hard to penetrate from set pieces, and they will just fly around the field with such solid players, and they will be very hard to score against. And I believe owning an Everton player in your defense is going to be one of the most essential things at some point of the season. And for now I'm owning Pickford. He's my goalkeeper, but I will be highly considering Tarkovsky or Patterson as well. Up front they just purchased Danjuma. He is going to be a popular option. Maybe Doucouré from a couple of seasons ago, if he discovers his form back, will be a good option. It was under Roy Hodgson, no, sorry, it was under another maybe one part, or I'm sorry, Roy Hodgson was a Crystal Palace manager. Doucouré was scoring a lot of goals, and if he keeps doing so, he may become an option as well. But Calvert-Lewin, for me, if he's fit, he's going to be great. And for me, Calvert-Lewin, Pickford and Tarkovsky are the three best players to invest. Danjuma is ones to watch, Doucouré as well, but for me, Pickford right now in game week 1 squad. It's time to discuss Fulham. They were pretty good side last season, but this season I believe that they're going to be struggling a little bit. They purchased a new center back, Bassi from Ajax, sorry, and he's going to improve their defense, but Polina got injured in the first preseason game, and he's going to miss a lot of the start of the season. Diop, Vukic, Wilson, Tete, Reed, Leno, pretty good minutes-wise. Leno, pretty good goalkeeper. Right now they purchased Raul Jimenez, who is bound to replace Mitrovic when he leaves, because Mitrovic is not happy. Andres Pereira is injured for the start of the season as well. Willian is rumored to be leaving the club, so a little bit of shambles at the Fulham right now. I believe they will recover and they'll keep their spot in the Premier League, but it will be harder this season, and they will be not as appealing as last season because they lost a lot of good price points positions. Raul Jimenez is an option as well. He already scored his first goal. He is a minute risk right now, but if you remember 5 or 6 seasons ago, he was a very solid player when he was playing at Wolverhampton, and I believe he can rediscover his form. He's going to be amazing as well. As you can see, a lot of players played almost every minute. They played only 4 preseason games, but Issa Diop as a defender and Saka Vukic as a midfielder and Harry Wilson as an attacking player played a lot of minutes. So I believe Harry Wilson is a good option at 5.5. He has set pieces in his pocket. He's taking some good free kicks, long shots. So another 5.5 good option. I was failing to discover how many good options there are, but right now Billing, Harry Wilson, some players from Burnley, I believe are going to have a pretty good season, and I'm prepared to introduce them into my squad. Formation wise, they are a side that are going to settle in a 4-2-3-1 formation. It was pretty standard from last season. This season, Bassi was introduced into the side, and I believe with Leno, Bassi and Diop and removing Ream from the side, they become even better. Bassi is a very solid Ajax defender. Ajax lost 2 of their defenders, Timber and Bassi, but Bassi is good enough to be playing at the Prem. I believe they will have difficulties losing Paulinho, but I thought that they were going to lose him regardless. Maybe for a transfer. This way, when he returns, he's going to be into the side and they will become even better. Up front, Raul Jimenez, as you can see, he scored a goal. Mitrovic played some minutes in this game, but I believe he's not going to have a lot of impact into this side. Harry Wilson, he is a pretty solid player, as I already mentioned, at 5.5. He's a ones to watch, but from this side, I will take only maybe Leno as an option and maybe Jimenez going forward, because I can replace Joao Pedro from my side, but for now only Leno and not highly enough. So yeah, watch and see Wilson, Raul Jimenez and Leno rack up some points, and when their fixtures turn for the better, I will jump and invest at least in one of their players. Liverpool, my favorite Liverpool, what can I say about them? First of all, they lost basically their whole midfield in this preseason. Ox, Keita, Milner, Hendo and Fabinho left the side, and Ricardo Carvalho went on loan to Leipzig. So they are pretty much revamping their whole midfield. Salah, Van Dijk, Gakpo, Arnold, Robertson, Alisson and Luis Diaz are ever present. New signings of McAllister and Szoboszlai were as well. Diogo Jota and Konate were present as well. So I believe their lineup is shaping up to be a pretty interesting lineup. Darwin Núñez is missing on some games, but he will become a pretty good substitute. And if someone is injured, he will take his place without ever blinking. But their bench is too short right now. They have several problems. They don't have a holding GM, and Trent is persuaded to play there. I believe Trent is bound to be playing more freely, while McAllister and Trent are not players to be playing in such a defensive role. I believe when they sign a holding GM, because they will sign for sure, and then start introducing him to the side, Trent will be deployed a lot further up front, and he will become great option as well. Salah, for me, he's the best Liverpool player and the best option for them. 2 goals and 7 assists, that's 9 returns there, scoring goals for fun. Yeah, they played against weaker oppositions and sometimes, but even against Bayern Munich, he was looking lively, and they have a pretty mixed start of the season. Some good fixtures, some bad fixtures. Another good player was Diogo Jota. I believe he is a minutes risk, but at the minutes he is playing, he's a pretty solid player. I got him in my draft at one point, but now he left because I am trying to start and plan a little bit differently without him. I have Salah, that's why Diogo Jota left, but at some point I may even own both of them, especially if someone is injured from their attack. I will jump on Diogo Jota for sure, and he's not the guy that's going to be injured. Defense wise, I don't think it's very smart to invest in Liverpool right now, because first of all they're expensive, and second of all they're not keeping a lot of clean sheets. But attacking wise, you cannot go wrong. You can go for Jota, you can go for Mohamed Salah, you can go for Gakpo, you can go for Diaz. I think all of those players are pretty good, and Darwin Núñez is a dark horse that can emerge as a pretty solid player. Now let's go and see their last game. They had a pretty interesting tweak in formation. Here in SofaScore they got it as a 4-3-3, but it was more like 3-2-3, where Konate, Van Dijk and Robertson played together in defense. Trent and McAllister played as a holding DMs. Szoboszlai and Gakpo were midfielders that were roaming eights, and Salah, Jota and Diaz were pressing forward. The three of the attacking players scored goals. Salah and Diaz were corner goals, while Jota goals was a playing goal, and I believe Jota is going to have a great season if he remains injury free. He's such a good player. At 10.0 I'm just afraid not to go for him, but right now I believe another player is catching my eye. We'll discuss that in a later video. But yeah, Jota, a pretty solid player. Salah, Diaz, pretty solid players. For me, Salah and Jota are the best Liverpool assets. Gakpo is more nailed than Jota in my opinion, but if you want more goals, it's Jota you should go for. He can play on the left, he can play centrally, but he's going to be substituted from time to time. Darwin Núñez will join the side. Liverpool are going to score a lot of goals, and for me it's pretty stupid to go without at least any of the player, even though it's going to be Salah. If there is a penalty, he's going to take it. He provides a lot of assists. He can get up behind the defense in the hard games. So in my opinion, Salah is going to have such a great impact this season as he was having at the later stages of the last season. So going without him is going to be pretty risky, and going without the Liverpool player is risky as well. And I see a lot of content creators going without them, and I hope Liverpool hurt their ranks because they do not believe in the mighty Reds. Next up is a newly promoted side, is Luton. I believe Luton are going to have a lot of good FPL players, because they are cheap and reliable. They are going to play. I don't see them as a rotating team. For me, their best player is Morris. He's a forward, 5.5. Another option to rotate Pedro with. He is a good option if you don't want to put anyone from other teams in game week 3. You can just replace Pedro for Morris, and it will be perfectly fine. Otherwise, here there is a mistake. Kabore is a 4.0 defender. He's listed as 4.5, but for me, he is one of the best 4.0s that you can own. And Nakamba, 4.5 midfielder, a very good option as well. Now let's go and see their formation and talk about more for their players. They are playing a 3-5-2 formation, which is pretty interesting. In defense, they have a pretty unknown players for me, but the guy that I'm looking at is Kabore. He's playing as a wing back, and for me he's going to be substituted a lot around the 70 minutes. So if they're keeping their 0-0 or 1-0 lead and Kabore is replaced, I will bank the clean sheet. So for me, he is attackingly good. He is getting the defensive returns, so a pretty solid player for 4.0 player. And Morris, in my opinion, is their best player. The only two players that I'm looking to invest right now are Kabore and Morris. Nakamba, 4.5, good option. them blanking in game week 2 is going to be pretty difficult to adapt, but at some point they're going to have a double up, so then you can invest in a Luton player, and Morris is the best option to do so in my opinion. Next up we have the treble winners Manchester City. For me, investing in their side is going to be exciting but risky. If you enjoy the content so far, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Now let's see the players' minutes. Alvarez, Diaz, Silva, Rodri, Stones, all of them played pretty good minutes. Haaland played pretty good minutes. He scored 2 goals. I believe they were in the first game, but regardless, he is a very good option. They shared a lot of the goals as they usually do. I believe Haaland will start returning once again when the season starts. Ortega got more playing minutes than Ederson, but I believe Ederson is nailed. In defense, they purchased Guardiola, who is going to take up Ake's spot, in my opinion. Walker is trying to sign a new contract. Silva is signing a new contract. They lost Mahrez and Gundogan, but they purchased Kovacic. Palmer is going to replace Mahrez, in my opinion, so they're having a pretty handful of options. Let's go and see their draft to prepare a little bit more for their formation and for their players. They started in a 4-2-3-1 formation according to SofaScore, but it was more of 4-4. No, it was basically a 4-2-2-2, something like that, because Alvarez and Grealish were playing more centrally. Kovacic was attacking the lines. Rodri was the only guy left. They did not deploy as I was expecting as a 3-2-3-1 formation or something like that. I'm missing a player, maybe 3-2-4-1. Yeah, 3-2-4-1 is the right one. Alvarez played a lot of minutes. Foden is not on the side, but I don't think you should be worried. He is going to have a lot of minutes under his belt this season, especially after Mahrez leaving. He is in front of Palmer. He is going to play in a lot of positions centrally, maybe as a shallow striker, maybe as a left winger, maybe as a right winger. He has a lot of options. I believe from this side, Haaland is the obvious choice. You should go for him. You should captain him. There is no point risking doing not so, because you lose a lot of points even if he doesn't return, because already a lot of guys own him, and if you don't own such a high percentage, you just lose the points. John Stones otherwise a good option. Guardiola being priced 5.0 is going to be a good player as well. Foden, Kevin De Bruyne when he returns, Julian Alvarez, if something happens to Haaland, just go for Julian Alvarez and he's going to return a lot of points. But yeah, Haaland and John Stones for me are their best and most nailed players. Phil Foden is a good option. Kevin De Bruyne and Guardiola wants to watch. And Ederson, if you want cover up for City and you don't have space in defense, Ederson is a good option as well. Manchester United, the Red Devils, they are one of the better sides that you should invest in my opinion. They signed a lot of new players that are going to be playing central role in their side. They signed a new goalkeeper in the face of Onana. They signed Mason Mount from Chelsea to boost their midfielders' positions. And they signed a brand new striker who, even though he's injured, is going to do pretty well in my opinion, because Manchester United are scoring some goals here and there. I am not opting to go for Onana from the start of the season, just because he is facing oppositions away from home such as Arsenal, Spurs and Manchester City, and last season they didn't have a very good record away from home. Their best players in my opinion are Fernandes and Rashford. They have pretty solid defenders as well. If Aaron Wan-Bissaka nails the right back position for 4.5, you will get a very good defender. But let's go and see how their team is shaping up right now and discuss their positions and the guys you should be investing in. They started in a 4-2-3-1 formation according to SofaScore, but they were basically playing 4-3-3 in my opinion. Onana in goal, Dawood, Varane, Martinez and Shaw in defense. Shaw is a pretty good option, but he is expensive. They are going to concede goals, and I believe they are a better option at that price point for now. If he emerges as a good option like he was last season, or if Lisandro Martinez gets injured, or Rafael Varane, he's going to be joining their center backs ranks for sure, and he's going to get a lot of points there. Casemiro, Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes made the midfield. Mason Mount missed several good chances. Bruno Fernandes was their best player overall in my opinion. Anthony Garnacho and Rashford made the squad, but I believe Garnacho can leave the side for Marcus Rashford on the left, and Sancho will join his place as a shadow striker or something like that, especially in harder games away from home. I believe Garancho is a risk pick, Antony as well, but Rashford and Fernandes for me are their best picks. If you want to invest in their defense, Onana is your guy, but I'm not investing in Manchester United defense from the start. I believe they're going to concede a couple of goals here and there. So for me, Bruno and Marcus Rashford are the guys to invest in. Right now I'm Bruno because he has penalties, and as a new captain he's going to be boosting his ego, but Marcus Rashford is a good option as well. Next up we have Newcastle. They were one of the better sides last season. They got into the Champions League. I believe that this Champions League in the involvement of the tournament will a little bit shaken them up, but they signed a pretty good players such as Tonali, Harvey Barnes, I believe Livramento joined just, so they're going to be having a pretty good season once again. I was surprised to see that Matt Target was on their top of the minutes ranks because he wasn't an ever-present option last season, but he played pretty good minutes in preseason. Elliot Anderson is one of the guys that I'm looking highly from this preseason, 4 goals and 3 assists. I believe he is not going to be nailed, but for such short cameos or a rotation around the Cups and the Champions League, he's going to get good minutes. Trippier is expensive for me right now. They have a little bit of a worry of the side. Let's go and see what I'm talking about. It's better to showcase that while I'm talking about their draft. As you can see, in 2 days they played 2 different friendlies and their lineups were so mixed. In one game there was Trippier, Sven Botman, Tonali, Isaac, Almiron. On the other it was Pope, Dan Burn, Guimaraes, Joelinton, so we cannot be sure about their lineup. I'm having mixed signals, but I believe it will be Pope, Trippier, Botman, Wakaseus, and Burn, or Burn and Target. Then it's going to be Bruno Guimaraes, Joelinton, and Tonali, and up front it's going to be Isaac, Almiron, Barnes, but I'm not sure about that. I don't believe myself, but if you should and want to invest, in my opinion, it's a wait and see from Newcastle. Maybe Botman for your defense. Barnes is going to be a pretty good option. I believe they're attacking pretty well, especially if they're playing attacking wise side. Going in behind for Harvey Barnes is going to be easy, but for now only Botman is appealing for me. The other guys are just wait and see. Next up is Nottingham. I believe that they're going down this season. Last season they just survived, but this season I don't see them as a very good side. They scored pretty awful number of goals. As you can see, they played a lot of friendlies, but they lost several of them and they weren't having a pretty solid defense and attack. In attack, it's Morgan Gibbs-White that is taking up my eye because he is pretty good. Otherwise, I'm not pretty interested in them. Maybe Turner, if he joins from Arsenal, will become an option, but for now, I'm staying away from Nottingham players. Let's go and see their draft and discuss it even more. As you can see, they're starting in a 3-5-2 formation, so their wingbacks may be interesting, especially if they're nailed. Up front, Morgan Gibbs-White and Brennan Johnson, no Rodgers, are a pretty interesting partnership. Or in defense, maybe a goalkeeper, if they sign Henderson or Turner, will be a good option, but for me, Brennan Johnson and Morgan Gibbs-White maximum. The other players are a no-go for me. Next up, another newly promoted side, it's Sheffield United. Here, as you can see, their goalkeeper played almost every minute that is available to him, especially in the last couple of games. Jack Robinson played a lot. I'm not very familiar with their side, but I'm enjoying their defender, Baldock, and I believe that he's the only guy that catches up my eye right now. NDI is playing, I believe he may be leaving, I'm not so sure. But yeah, let's go and see their draft, because this way it's pretty hard for me to discuss how they're going to play, because I haven't watched any of their preseason. But judging by their minutes, Jack Robinson, Baldock, Forington, Osua, Ahmedovic, Egan, Osborne are going to be their main players. They're setting in a 4-4-2 formation at their last friendly. Oruzzi is going to be playing a wing back, I believe. I'm not thinking that he's going to be playing center back. He was a Liverpool player years ago and he was a good left back. Nothing too spectacular apart from Baldock, who is going to be a 4.0 defender on my bench. He's going to be my 15 player. Fotheringham is going to be their nailed player, but they're wait and see. If someone emerges, maybe I will invest, but for now I'm not investing in any of the Sheffield players. Next up, we have the Spurs players, and I believe Spurs are going to be a pretty good side to invest in. Hear me out. Right now, time of recording, they are going to have a game against Barcelona, but they are playing their B team, so I was pretty comfortable talking about them. Kulusevski, Højbjerg, Vicario, Romero, Royal, Davis, Udogie, pretty good players. Sar is a newly emerging player. If Harry Kane stays at the side, he's going to be a must player, especially after game week 2. Maddison is playing well. Also found his form. Richarlison is playing well. He scored several goals. A lot of players are playing well. They signed a new center back that's going to play well. I'm not investing in their defense because their league is such as Liverpool, but their attack, oh boy, I like it a lot. Maddison is in my current draft. I'm just monitoring the Harry Kane news. If he's staying, I may be investing him after game week 2 when he gets a game against United. After that, 3 easy fixtures. Salah is gone and Kane is in for sure, but for now I'm staying away from Kane because their team is not nailed. Other than that, a pretty solid draft elsewhere. Maddison, let's go and see their team and discuss it even more. Here is their draft for 2-3-1, but they're basically playing 2-3-5 because that's how they attacking are. Emerson, Romero, the new defender, and Udogie, Van der Ven, I believe it's said, are going to be their starting players in my opinion. I thought Porro was going to be an option, but Emerson Royal got the game where they were playing their starting 11. Basically, Maddison, Kulusevski, Hugminson, and Harry Kane, a pretty good offensive line, especially Maddison, Harry Kane, and Kulusevski, cheap and reliable, the two midfielders, and Harry Kane, what can you say about him? He's that good. Sar and Højbjerg, pretty solid midfield. Bissouma is joining midfield there, so they have pretty good options. In my opinion, invest in Spurs, especially after game week 2. If you want to monitor them, that's fine. Their attack, though, is going to be pretty spectacular this season. They're scoring goals for fun in preseason, such as Liverpool. So Spurs and Liverpool players, I believe they are heavily overlooked for Arsenal and United players, and I believe that will hurt a lot of players' ranks. Next up, we have the Hammers, West Ham. After they won their first European tournament, they are starting a new season. They lost their captain Declan Rice, and Skamaka is gone as well. Sorry. Downs is going to replace Rice for the start of the season, in my opinion. Emerson Palmieri is playing there as well. Bowen is a good option, scored several goals. Divin Mubama is a 4.5 forward that is going to play a lot of minutes, especially if they give him the platform to return. I believe they will have a pretty interesting season after a life without Declan Rice, but without any transfer. Only Alvarez from Ajax, I believe, joins, but without seeing more from them, I'm just not investing anything else apart from Obama right now because he's my 4.5 option. Their draft right now is looking like a 4-4-2, but I believe it's going to be more like a 4-2-3-1 because Benrahma and Bowen will be on the wings, Downs, Paqueta and Souček will be in the midfield. The defense is looking pretty basic just like last season. Areola is not emerging as a pretty good option, so I'm staying away from him because he will lose price value and I don't want to lose that. Mubama is starting instead of Antonio, and I believe he's the only guy that is worth investing in from the start. And other than that, maybe Bowen because of penalties and Emerson because he is a wing back, but they conceded a lot of goals because a life after Declan Rice is hard. So Mubama and Bowen are the only two options that I'm considering from their side. And the last team that we're going to discuss today is Wolves. I believe that they're going to have a pretty interesting season under Upaghetti because he's a good manager. They lost most of their team, and Moutinho, Neves, Raul Jimenez is left, but they are having pretty exciting and young roster. Jose Sa is their main man in goal. I believe he is going to be a good option. Dawson and Koeman 4.5 options, good as well. Mateus Nunes, a good attacking option. I believe that he is their striker right now at 5.0. If he continues to do well and he is providing assists / goals, I may invest in him, a 5.0 midfielder that's playing out of position. I have a lot of things to look out for, players like Harry Wilson, Nunes, Burnley player, and Billing are good options. In defense, Bueno and Nuri will share their minutes. Doherty is back in the side, but we have to see that. Let's go and see their draft right now. I believe they have a pretty interesting draft to look at, and to be careful not to avoid them for too much. Their team is looking pretty solid, a 4-3-3 formation. I forgot to mention Pablo Sarabia. He's a good option. Neto is here as well. Mateus Nunes, Mateus Cunha, both of them are pretty good players. We have to see how it's going to be this season, but I believe that if Doherty gets the place and he starts once again, he's going to be a very good option because he enjoys playing as a wingback. Koeman and Dawson are the only out players. Jose Sa is out in goal. Nuri is getting more minutes right now than Bueno, so he's most probably going to start. But Mateus Cunha, Sarabia and Neto for me are the players to look at, because if they are a cheap and emerging midfielders playing as a striker, I believe they're going to be pretty well. I hope you enjoy my preseason cheat sheet and you got a pretty helpful information from me. If you did, subscribe to my channel, follow me during the season because I will keep the content going for sure. Wait and see, my final draft is going to be revealed tomorrow. Go and watch my deadline stream, is going to be pretty good as well. If you have any questions, write them down in the comment section. But for now, guys, I will be heading out. Bye!